Okay, so I just want to talk about the Rogue Invitational, my thoughts and my honest opinion about the competition. So I didn't do a predictions video just because I've been super busy. Got a few new clients come on board for coaching, so just been focusing on that, and I just wanted to enjoy the show. So anyway, I didn't do a prediction video, but going into it, I mean, I think the obvious choice for the win was going to be Mitch Hooper, and then where it went beyond that, obviously that was open to a bit of debate because we've had Tom had the injury, he's not been firing on all cylinders the last couple of competitions. So we didn't really know where he was going to be at. Thor obviously has been in good shape all year, apart from his pressing events, so we didn't know if that's going to have come on. Just didn't really sort of want to make a big prediction video. So anyway, my thoughts. Right, so first up was the deadlift. Now, as expected, Thor took the win. I thought he was good for more as well. He was comfortably better than the other guys. I think with deadlift anyway, Thor you'd imagine would be the favourite, but as soon as you take the suits away, I think it makes him even more of a favourite because he pulls so well without a suit as well. So I don't think there was any real shock there. Mitch Hooper coming second, again, I don't think that's a total shock. And Matt Ragg in third. Now, I think that, that pretty much went true to form. I think that taking the suits away adds a different dynamic. I think, in my opinion, I think that's almost how it should be. I think that we should scrap the suits now, especially at the point where some of the guys are getting so much out of the suits and some of the guys aren't. So it's not really a level playing field. I think, yes, I understand that wearing a suit is a skill that you need to learn, but some people just suit them better than others. No pun intended. I just think that personally it should come down to who's the strongest. So I would personally like to see suits being phased out of strongman in the future, but we're not at that point at the moment. And yeah, only the odd competition, obviously strongest man on earth did it with no suits and no figure of eight straps. They did no suits here at the Rogue Invitational. And I just think it adds a nice different spin to it. So really enjoyed the first event. Thought it was fantastic. Also for the women's as well, saw two girls going over 300 kilos, which is absolutely amazing. Great to see Andrea do that as well. I know she's been knocking on the door for a good few years of 300 kilos. She's been close a few times, like 290s and things like that. And I actually commented on one of her videos going into it. She did a 290 and I thought she'd have a good shot at it. So great to see Lucy obviously win the event, and then fantastic to see Andrea do 300 as well. But I think as far as the women's go, I would guess it kind of went as expected. I think that the standard obviously keeps continuing to escalate at a very quick rate with the women's. So I think we're going to see more and more girls doing 300 over the next year or 2 years. I think it'll almost become like 400 did for the guys, where it was kind of like all the best guys could do it. I think in a couple of years' time, I think all the best girls will be doing 300. So it's fantastic to see the level rising for the women's side of the sport. But going back to the men, I thought, yeah, it pretty much went to plan. I kind of like the idea of the different setup bars as well. Thought the actual event looked cool, the way it was all set out and stuff. So yeah, overall it was a good first event. I enjoyed it. Obviously we saw some big numbers lifted, which was great. And yeah, it kind of went as expected. I guess Tom is still not 100% with his deadlift. I mean, I know that when Tom's in shape, he would probably be lifting more. Now, I'm not saying he's in bad shape now. Obviously, if you watch the whole competition, you'll know he performed really well, but his deadlift's obviously just not quite there because of the injury. But that will come back. I think the fact that he's got that injury holding him back, imagine what he's going to be able to do when it's not. So I think that's a great sign to see. But yeah, I think obviously Thor's in a bit of a sort of league of his own. Hooper had to work for his 975, which is still obviously a massive lift, just over 440 kilos. But I think Thor was good for more had someone pushed him. So probably the right result. Which, yeah, anyway, good start, good first event. On to the second event. Now, these are probably the only complaints I've got about the whole show, if I'm honest. Just from my own personal opinion, I think that having a man and a woman go at the same time when they're not competing against each other was a really odd choice. I think if you had head-to-heads, it would have made it a little bit more exciting. So you had like the girls going against the girls and the guys going against the guys. I think that would have made it far more exciting. Didn't really understand the logic of doing that. I think that both the men and the women deserve their own platform, not a shared platform. So that was just one complaint I've got about that. And the other thing, I really, just my personal opinion again, don't understand why you would put farmers and log press together. It just seems absolutely pointless to me. I don't know if it's a thing to do with Rogue where they want to showcase their equipment, so they wanted to showcase their farmers, but for me, a pressing event should be a pressing event, and farmers walk should be a farmers walk. Now, I'm all for medleys. I don't mind medleys where there's a lot of sort of different components to it in terms of like moving around and things like that. I just think that a moving event into a static pressing event is a bit retarded, if I'm honest. It just seemed absolutely pointless because we knew that everyone would finish the farmers. So, yeah, I think it would have made more sense just to do the log, but that's just my opinion. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there that enjoyed the different dynamic, but I personally just thought it was a waste of time. Anyway, so that's my opinion on that one, but some great performances again. I thought that the weight was probably about right for both categories. It split the field nicely. You had obviously people completing it and people sort of struggling with it. And I think that so they did a good job of selecting the weights for both categories. So really impressed with that. And obviously the equipment looked amazing, which it always does with the Rogue Invitational. I thought the wooden logs, they were sort of obviously very similar to the ones that were used at the Arnold's. I thought they looked fantastic, really good quality. I love the look of the wooden logs, and I love the look with the big wooden ends on it as well. So it's sort of all one piece. I think it looks fantastic. So definitely liked the look of the event. I just didn't see the point in the farmers. But yeah, with the log press, obviously that was probably the first time in a long time I've seen Hooper make a mistake. I think he just rushed the clean on the first log. So he left the point out there, which I'm sure he wouldn't have been too happy about. But obviously still placed second on the event. And Tom Evans winning it, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, Tom's always been a great log presser, but he really come out and nailed that one. So yeah, I was very impressed. I don't know, I did hear some rumours, I don't know how true it is, that Thor wasn't quite ready for his go when he was called out, but I'm not exactly sure what went on there, so I won't comment on it. But I think overall, all the guys sort of pretty much performed as expected. Thomas Evans probably on a single event was the performance of his life. So good job to Tom, and yeah, it was a great event. From the women's side of things, obviously Inez was incredible. I thought her log press was fantastic. She looks like so explosive with the press and stuff. It was yeah, very impressive indeed. So I think that, you know, she thoroughly deserved the win there, and yeah, great performance. So yeah, like I said, the only negatives I would say is I didn't understand the man against woman, because obviously they're in a different competition. It would have made more sense to do head-to-heads where they're actually going against each other, and it would have made more sense to me to not put the farmers in as well. Just seemed a bit pointless, if I'm honest. But still enjoyed the event, and obviously, like I said, the weight of the log was spot on because it split the field up so well. So much as I don't agree with the farmers, it still turned out to be a good event and looked great as well. So event 3 was the Inverstones. Now, I was very impressed with a few of the people on this event. Obviously, with the guys' side of things, 4 was just, I mean, it was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. One motioned every single stone, no tacky as well, was so impressive. But I think Hooper sort of made a point of showing everyone that he's a much better stone lifter than perhaps people think he is. But I think the main reason people don't know he's that good is just because he doesn't always have to do them. So we see that he's obviously a very good stone lifter, and doing those stones without tacky would have been extremely difficult, just getting a grip on them and stuff. But overall, I thought that the performances were great. I thought that Tom did really well there as well, obviously. Yeah, it was kind of not exactly as I expected, because I would have expected Tom to win that event, but Four just absolutely destroyed him, and obviously Hooper put in a great performance as well. Now with the women's, some of them were just, super impressive. I thought that some of the performances from them was amazing as well. Seemed like that sort of third to fourth stone was a big level up in difficulty, moving on to the fourth, but then some of them came out and made the fourth and fifth look no problem, so it was very impressive. I did sort of look at my good friend Lucy. I think she perhaps made a little mistake there. I don't know if there was an issue or she's just not sort of used to the stones, but she perhaps wasn't sitting down enough. I think she was sort of her hips were a little bit high, and that was causing her to obviously not quite be able to get that drive through with the hips to get the stones on the platform. But it might have just been that she was worried about losing her grip, so I understand that. I personally didn't like the look of the tacky tails. I thought the stopping and patting the stones with the tacky tails and stuff was kind of a little bit, it didn't look particularly good to me. I think that they should just say no tacky, or just you can use the tacky tails before you do the event. But I think once you're out there, when they're grabbing rags and patting the stones down and things like that, it kind of looks a bit unprofessional, if I'm honest. That's just my own opinion, but I know some people don't mind and stuff like that. But my opinion is you shouldn't really be doing things like that during the event. It doesn't look particularly good, but that's just my opinion. So end of day one, obviously we had Hooper in the lead in the men's and Inez in the lead in the women's. At this point, I think Inez had a big enough lead where, knowing she's a great presser and things like that, I kind of expected her to go on and win it. And the same with the men's. At Hooper at that point, I was kind of like, well, he's not going to be bad at any of the events tomorrow either, so this is going to be almost a foregone conclusion. But obviously they still have to go out there and deliver. So event one on day two was the power drive into the Husafell stone into the arm over arm. Now, I actually really enjoyed this event, and it looked horrendous in terms of like doing it. I'm sure they were so exhausted after they did it. 90 seconds of working at that capacity is very, very tough. I think a lot tougher than people realise, because obviously you're working at such a high level of intensity. To do that for 90 seconds takes a lot of good conditioning. So I think it was a very tough event for the guys and the girls, but I actually really enjoyed it. I think there was a lot of different things, like Rebecca came out and did the power drive and she pushed it along really easily. And then some of the other girls perhaps struggled a little bit with the power drive, but they made it up on the arm over arm. There was a lot of like back and forward, people making mistakes on the sandbags, stuff like that. I think that made the event exciting because you never knew who was going to do what. I mean, obviously in the men's side of things, we saw Four against Hooper, and Hooper was way in the lead. And then Four managed to, because of the extra height that he's got, his pulls on the rope was so much longer. He actually managed to catch him and overtake him. But I thought it was a really good event. I enjoyed it a lot. Again, not a criticism. I think that the power drive, the only problem I could see with it, and obviously people in the sport know that these guys are super strong, and they know that if they're making it difficult, like making it look difficult, it's going to be heavy. But I think from someone who's not involved in the sport and don't understand the levels of strength that the guys and girls have got at that level, you might look at it and go, well, I don't know how hard that is. It could be a little bit to a an armchair fan or someone who's not a die-hard strongman or strongwoman fan, it might be a little bit tricky in terms of relaying to them how difficult it is. But from a sort of strongman fan perspective, as I am, I thoroughly enjoyed the event. I thought it was brilliant. I thought there were some great performances there as well. And like I said, to work for that amount of time at that intensity is very difficult to do. But great performance from Tom on the men's side. I thought he did really well. And I would say whatever he's been doing, I mean, obviously I know he's got a new coach and stuff like that. Obviously it hasn't helped the deadlift yet, but his conditioning looked good. He looked fit. Even on that, he went at it pretty well. He actually didn't really get a good pick up of the Husafell stone either, but he still managed to win the event quite comfortably. Had he sort of really got that Husafell stone in a good position, he would have moved even faster, so he would have finished it even quicker. So, you know, he's got a couple of things that he could improve on, and he still won the event. So that's a good sign. I always think sort of when you're looking at your performances on each event, you know, at that level, these guys are going to be looking at every little thing. Even when they've won the event, they're going to be looking at little mistakes. Not to be negative, just so they can go away and work on them and make sure that that doesn't happen again. But I think that, yeah, it was great performance from Tom. Hooper, again, actually made a second mistake. So that's 2 mistakes he made in this competition, which is very uncharacteristic of him. But they weren't major mistakes, obviously, just little ones. But he will sort of, I'm sure, look at it and go, well, I could be even better than I was this time, which, you know, he can, and I'm sure he will. One thing with Hooper is he does go away and work hard at things that he's not as strong at, or if he's made mistakes or can get technically better, he does go away and do that. So I think obviously he can make improvements. Great performance from Thor though. His arm over arm was so fast, he was so powerful, using his leverages and that incredible back strength he's got, and posterior chain strength to really sort of pull him through. So great performance from all the guys there anyway, and yeah, really enjoyed it. Another little nitpicky thing, making the sandbag fall exactly in that square seemed a little bit pedantic. I think it was a little bit sort of nitpicky. When you're carrying a 175 kilo sandbag, to make sure that it falls exactly in a square that's not a huge amount bigger than the sandbag is a bit OTT. Should just be a line, in my opinion. You can just fry it over. But, you know, the rules are the rules, and I'm sure they did that for a reason. So, you know, it didn't take away from the event. I thought the event was exciting anyway and thoroughly enjoyable. So, loved that event. Really enjoyed it. Next event was the Yoke into power stairs. Now, again, I thought it looked great. The equipment was great. And I really, really enjoyed that event as well. I love the races and the medleys and the things where they're close. So I thought that the Yoke into power stairs was actually a great event. I really enjoyed it. It was over quite fast, but there was a lot of sort of like back and forward. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great event. Obviously, we saw like in the men's, like 4 fell behind. He was the slowest on the Yoke in that group of 5 he was in, but then ended up coming through and beating a couple of the guys, and it obviously smashed it on the power stairs. But it was, yeah, really enjoyable. I thought it was an exciting event. And there was a lot of drama, even in the women's, Sam winning the event and then Melissa Peacock. They were so close together. So, you know, it had a lot of excitement and a lot of moments where it was like very close. So yeah, I really enjoyed that event. I thought it was good fun to watch, and obviously, yeah, just quite exciting. It was quite dynamic. I enjoyed it. I thought the equipment looked great. I thought 5 at a time was great. So yeah, I think that was definitely a good event to watch. Really enjoyed it. Then last up, obviously, was the press medley. Now, the kettlebell was obviously very tricky. Some of the guys, obviously, you could see had it figured out, and some didn't. Do I have any issue with them using a kettlebell? Not at all. I think it's something that you should, you know, something that they should be able to figure out. And if they can't figure it out, obviously, well, I say figure it out. They should have been practicing to figure it out before this. These guys are professionals, and I'm sure that there's a way, even if they didn't have a kettlebell that's that weight available, I'm sure they could have figured out a way to train that. So I'm sure by this point they were all very fatigued, which obviously is going to sort of pull the performances down a little bit. But I do think that it's a perfectly acceptable thing to include in a press medley. Why not? The dumbbell was great. Obviously, it was very heavy. It didn't look heavy. So I think, again, another little gripe. I like things that look heavy and that you can see they're heavy and big. Whereas I think that dumbbell almost looks like a Thomas Inch dumbbell that's like 77 kilos. It weighed like 115 kilos. So I would like to have seen them do one of their big circus dumbbells, Rogue's big circus dumbbells, because I just think they look that little bit more impressive. But still, as a strong man fan or a strong woman fan, we all understand weights, so we know it's very heavy. So it's not really, if you're aiming at us as a market and people that understand lifting, then it's perfect. But I think if you're trying to encourage the general public in, people that don't really understand the difference between 100 and 115 kilos in terms of it's just more weight. They can't grasp how impressive that is. I think if you're trying to encourage people like that into it, then perhaps using a bigger dumbbell might be a better option. But for the die-hard sort of strength fans and even the CrossFitters that enjoy strength stuff, I think it sort of makes sense. Now, the axles, I thought were two of the most impressive looking bits of equipment I've ever seen. I absolutely loved the look of them. I thought they were brilliant. The big sort of globes on the ends, all shiny, the axle bar, I thought it looked amazing. And yeah, was so impressed with them. As soon as I saw it on the TV, I was like, them things look unbelievable. Really nice to look at, great event. And obviously, again, they got the weights right. So I think this is one thing that I would really compliment them on. The weights that they picked were good. You know, you look at the yoke and into the power stairs, maybe that could have been a bit heavier, maybe, but I think it didn't take away from it because it was a very dynamic, fast event. The arm over arm sort of medley, so power drive, sandbag, arm over arm. Some guys finished it, some didn't. Some, you know, Tom finished it reasonably comfortably, and then some of the guys struggled. And I think so. If you get a good split of athletes from top to bottom, it's perfect weight in my opinion. So they did a great job of picking the weights for everything. So all credit to the people involved with the Rogue Invitational for doing that. I thought they did a fantastic job of that. And as far as the press medley goes, obviously it was great to see Luke win that. Coming into it, he's always been a good presser, but for him to win that event as the last event in Scotland, I've always a great thing. And it's great to see him sort of, after the bicep injury earlier in the year, sort of building his way back up again. I think there's been some signs that his deadlift's improving as well, which has really sort of been Luke's only weakness. So yeah, I think a bit more time working on bringing that deadlift up for next year, and Luke's going to be looking at sort of getting some better positions at World's Strongest Man than he has in the past. I know he's done really well, but I think that next year could be a year where he sort of takes that next step up and really battles for podium. So yeah, I think there's good signs from Tom, obviously, that things are improving. I thought his press medley was good. You could probably argue and say he almost strict pressed the first axle. Now again, that could be, obviously, once you get to that stage in the competition, you're like so tired and your legs are absolutely shot. So it could be that he just didn't quite have enough leg power to really push press, but obviously showing that he's got incredibly strong shoulders and incredibly strong overhead. So I think there's a lot of good signs from both the Stoltman boys. I think Evan did really well. He was consistently good through the show. I think, again, sort of proving that, you know, that third at World's Strongest Man wasn't a fluke. Tom and Evan are both in that situation where they've had a couple of like not so good shows. And I think that they both sort of come back and prove the point at this show that they are legitimately up there. They just had a couple of bad shows through tiredness, fatigue, long season, injuries, and all the rest of it. But I think they both cemented their positions as like top guys in the world, which was great to see. Felt a bit sorry for Tom Evans with the injury. You could see on the press medley, he struggled with the axle. He was just locking it out on that arm where he's obviously got the injury. And I'm sure he would have obviously performed better had he not have had the injury. But I think he did a great job. Yeah, all in all, like I said, I had a couple of little things, but that's really nitpicking. I thought overall the show was really enjoyable. I thought Loz done a great job on the commentary as well. Yeah, I have a couple of little nitpicky things, but that's more from my personal opinion. I think that anyone that watched it, if they didn't enjoy it and they're into strength sports, I would be really, really surprised. I thought it looked cool. The way the arena's set up is although it's like a CrossFit setup, I think it works for strongman. I didn't have any issue with the buttons. I know a few people have been commenting online they didn't enjoy the buttons and the pressing the buttons. I have no issue with it. I think you should be of cool enough mind at that point to press a button, and I think that it's a great way of stopping the event, so you can clearly see from a spectator who won the event or who beat who. I think that's not a problem in my opinion. I think it's not a bad thing at all. I think that sometimes when you're in the crowd at these events and you can't see who won, it's a little bit frustrating. And I think sometimes it's better that you've got that very clear moment of pushing the button and then you can see who's got the win. And they can see it as well, so then you get the moment of celebration. Obviously, if it's close, they don't know that they've definitely won. You sort of miss that moment of, yeah, I just won the event kind of thing, which I think is important for the crowd. So I had no issue with that. Yeah, but overall, I thought it was a fantastic show. I thought the girls did really well as well. I think for the Rogue Invitational, obviously, the way the competition is structured and the setup of it, because it is essentially a marketing tool for their business, I think that it's great that they balanced out the prize money for the girls and the guys, because it's not a business that needs to cover costs or make money or anything like that. So I think because they just put an amount of money into a prize pot, it kind of should be evenly split, because the girls do prep just as hard as the guys do. The effort it takes to get to that top end is equal. So I do think that, yeah, it should be like that in that scenario with Rogue. And like I said, where it's just a prize pot that's coming out of a marketing budget and it doesn't need to necessarily cover the costs, I think that it's definitely a right thing to do, to pay everyone the same prize money. Overall though, fantastic show. I think that I definitely would watch again. The only reason I didn't go up there was just because I sort of wanted a break from travelling. I've been travelling a lot the last sort of 8-9 months, and I just felt it was a nice weekend I could just spend at home, get some stuff done at home, spend some time with my beautiful girlfriend and enjoy the Rogue Invitational on TV instead. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Good job, Rogue. Good job to all the guys and the girls. Fantastic effort from all of you. And yeah, great job from everyone that was involved. Like I said, I think Loz done brilliant as well on the commentary. So yeah, no complaints whatsoever. I thought it was brilliant.